We are the one, the light in the dark. One heart, one world, one spark. We are the one, together we rise. One dream, one voice, one sky.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Empowered Across the World. And this is our podcast. And I have several podcast hosts with me. I have Melissa from Texas. I have Jackie from Arizona, and her heart is in Africa and globally. And then I have Renata, who came from Brazil and now lives in Oregon. And I have Megan from South Africa and myself from Florida, and I am also global. And we have an amazing guest today. Well, our guests are all amazing, but this is an amazing guest, and her name is Judy Ryan. And we are looking so forward to hearing her story. Judy, come join us and share with us.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to this incredible podcast on women empowered. I believe women are rising at this time. I know I've been working on rising and we want to make a difference. I want to make a difference. The work I do on workplace culture transformation and leadership development, the mission that I bring to that is to create a world in which all people love their lives. And yes, and I think women are needed for that effort. So I guess you would like for me to just tell you a little bit about how I got in this and what exactly we're doing? Okay, so workplace culture is a little bit like the word parenting. If you had 10 parents in the room and you said, what is healthy parenting? You might get 10 completely different ideas of what that is. So what I see in the work that we're doing is we're bringing a shared power model. Women typically, I know myself, I'll speak for myself, we typically don't like dynamics of power over and power under. We want dynamics of power within and power between and power for one another. And so that's really what I'm bringing to the table. When I raised my 5 children, I got started in this work back in the 80s, believe it or not. And by the time my kids were 5 years old, they knew how to run a family meeting because I wanted them to feel empowered, lovable, in other words, seen and heard, connected, and able to make contributions. And we really did a lot of things to help further that. And we removed things that are typical in normal conditioning in many homes that would diminish those core feelings in them. And I knew how powerful this was. It was making me into the kind of a leader of a home that I wanted to be. And I knew that there were applications for this in every type of setting. So in 2002, we're in our 23rd year, I started LifeWork Systems. And what we've done is we've created a scalable system so that people can learn the concepts, the terms, the tools, and the practices to create a shared power, purpose, and value-based way of operating, where people can be themselves, they can be authentic, they can be safe, they can build collaboration with each other. And that's not as easy as it sounds. You know, we really need skills for that. I think most people want to be loving and collaborative everywhere in the world, but they haven't necessarily been conditioned to use their power in a way that's truly helpful. So I don't want to just keep talking, Carol, if you want me to stop and
Oh, no, keep sharing.
Keep going. Okay.
Yeah, keep sharing. You have a little while yet. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I think sometimes the best way to really demonstrate a shared power model is to tell a story. So I'll tell a story that we often use, even when we're at corporate conferences, even though it doesn't sound like a corporate story. It's about an 8th grade student in a school that we did a lot of school reform where we worked with parents, teachers, administrators, and students when we worked in that setting, all simultaneously. But in this particular school, there was this teacher, and she was the only teacher doing this kind of model, this shared power model, where she was helping her students pick up responsibility for managing their relationships, managing their productivity, managing their engagement, all of those things. And she said, sometimes I have trouble being the only teacher doing this. Would you come and sit in on my classroom meetings? And so I went in one day And her classroom meetings were eighth graders. And this eighth grade boy came in and he said, I'm being bullied by my homeroom teacher. And she said, well, put it on the classroom meeting agenda. And when it was his turn to speak, he said, we have this new pledge where we're all supposed to put our hands on our hearts in the morning, right after the Pledge of Allegiance, and say, I pledge to use my words and actions for peace. And he said, I don't have a problem with that. But what I have a problem with is the teacher doing this in all seriousness and saying, if I catch any of you not doing this, you're going to get a detention, which is kind of ironic, right? We have a saying that says a fool with a tool is still a fool. And so the teacher looked at me and said, okay, how do I help him to be responsible for this? And will you show me? And I said, okay. I said to the boy, do you want peace in the school? And he said, yes. And I said, good. I said, do you want peace with the teacher who's bullying you? I didn't pull any punches. I said, she is bullying you. Do you want peace with her? He says, yes, I do. And I said, okay, then are you first willing to look at where you're doing war with her? And at first he got real defensive and said, me, I'm the one being bullied, And I said, you're right, you are being bullied, but you are also the one here saying, I want peace and I want help. And so she's not. And he said, yeah, okay. And I said, do you ever say bad things about her behind her back, gossip about her? And he said, well, yeah, I hate her. And I said, hate and gossip, anything warlike about those? And he said, yeah, I guess so. And then I said, do you ever try to go to her when things are peaceful and just have a calm, respectful conversation? And he said, well, no, we're all afraid of her. And I said, well, do you know that when you're afraid of somebody, you're in attack to them? And he said, no, what do you mean? And I said, if a dog comes running up to you and it's vicious and it's barking and it's angry, if you get afraid of that dog, will that dog get more hostile or less hostile? And he said, more hostile. And I said, right, why? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, the reason the dog gets more hostile is he feels your fear and he knows that that is you putting him in the enemy camp, you putting him in the monster box, and he's going to return the favor. And people feel the same way. When we're afraid of them, they know that we are looking at them in a suspect way, and they will react to that with feeling defensive and struggling. And so he said, oh, I didn't know that. And I said, well, now that you know that you want peace with her, but you've been at odds with yourself by hating her, gossiping about her, and being afraid of her, what do you want to do now? And he said, I want to go to her, but I'm not quite sure how. And I said, well, isn't it great you have more time and you have all these students, you have a coach in the room, you have the teacher in the room. What if we help you practice how you're going to go to her? And he said, oh, I would love that. Well, what was so powerful to me and why we tell this story is because if we can do this with an eighth grader who is going to be going off to college in 4 years, right? We don't wait till they leave and hope that they figure it all out. And I said, what was so cool was that when he raised his responsibility, other students said, I'll go with you. I've been doing war with that teacher too, and I didn't know I was. And then the teacher said to me, you can see I love these kids and I love this teaching, but I'm really frustrated being in a school by myself doing this. And I'd like to leave at the end of the year and work with you with many more adults in the school reform work you're doing. So everybody raised their level of responsibility because she said there's signs all over the school hallways saying respect and accountability. And she said it's about as crazy as saying reading is essential and not having a reading class. And so she said, I really want to up my game. So we tell that story because shared power and personal responsibility, you can't really have freedom without responsibility because then you have anarchy. And you can't have a responsibility without freedom because then you have tyranny. And so how do you create the conditions where you have shared power and personal responsibility and purpose and intention? And so what reason we tell that in corporate settings even is because if we can do that with an eighth grader, that's what you want with your employees. Yeah. You want them to be able to even manage relationships with authority figures. Wow. I love all those little hearts. Thank you.
Wow, I love that story because it impacted many.
Yes.
Oh,
It affected me to realize that when you help people become responsible, everyone wants to become.
oh yeah. Yeah. And they see it. They actually really and truly see it for themselves.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do in White Yeah is we say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's
Right. Right.
it's there. It's there. It's there.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, Judy, thank you so much for what you do. Oh my goodness. I so love what you are committed to, what what you're absolutely opening people up to seeing for themselves. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, does anybody have questions for Judy? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yes, Melissa, go ahead.
First off, Judy, congratulations. Is it 23 years in business?
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations on that. And what a beautiful transformation story that started with someone who was very young. So we have no excuses, right? I was wondering, where do you see this most impactful? Like what age, what organization, where have you seen it most impactful?
Well, I love that question because one of the things, I'm a prayerful person. One of the things I ask every day is please send me the people who are ready for this kind of, you know, culture change because not everybody is. A lot of people really like win-lose and they like power over, power under. But there are others that are hungry for this kind of change. And so we don't really use psychographics as much as, demographics as much as psychographics. So the people that are most receptive are people that have often heard about a culture like this, but they have no idea how to implement it. And
Mm,
they're sort of passionate about the idea of it. But they don't, so then they're ready and willing because I don't want to push any rocks up the hill. I do love working with young people because I think they get it the fastest. But when we can work with all the adults and the children, what happens is they have a common language
yeah.
and they don't fight each other and blame each other. We have a saying that says, don't ask why is this happening and who's to blame, but ask what system, if it were put in place, would fix this. Thanks for that question, Melissa.
Yeah. One of the things we do in White Yeah is how can we create possibility inside of this? How can we create something possible inside of this situation? I love that. So love that. Okay. Yeah, Renata, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Judy, for your story. I love it. But sometimes I have the feeling that it's easier to work with teenagers than executives. So, what are your challenges when you work with companies?
That's
Mm,
a great question too. The biggest challenge is what it really requires to do a true transformation. We use what's the best practices out of education. They found in education that if you give people a lecture, they're going to only remember it for a test, for example. But if you involve them and engage them in teaching what they've learned and applying what they've learned and mentoring each other on what they've learned, then they absorb it and they really use it and retain it and see the relevance of it. So a lot of people just want a fast food solution, a one and done workshop. Um, do we have time for about a 5-minute story on that?
absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. So I was working with a company of about 600 people, and the executive wanted this model, wanted this deep dive that we do, this immersive process, and wanted to start with his 20 top executives, which are the C-suite. And we don't like doing that. We like mixing the levels right away so that there's a CEO in with a receptionist, for example. But he insisted on this group. They started this deep dive process, which takes about 5 hours a month where they do individual work, then they lead small groups, and then they mentor one another. And about the second month in, he says, these are executives. They don't have time to do mentoring. They don't have time to do homework. They don't have time to lead groups. So what I want you to do instead is train all 52 of the people that are supervisors and up that all have direct reports and just go through a skim of all these concepts and tools that you have. And we did that over 6 months every other week. And I told him what he was going to lose. But he said, that's okay. Well, one of the tools we teach in the very first session is a tool to stop gossip. And in this tool, if I was doing this tool with you, Carol, it's called a mind trust. I would make 4 commitments to you. I would say, Carol, I commit to you that I won't say bad things behind your back about you. I commit that I'll come to you if I have a problem with you and work it out with you. And I commit that if somebody starts to come and say bad things about you, I will stop them. I'll politely say, maybe offer them our healthy venting tool, but I won't let them rip on you. And then the 4th thing is I'll try to get this person to go back to you and work this out with you so they don't hold on to that grudge or go gossip about you to other people. So they all love this. They all committed that they were going to do it with each other within the next 2 weeks. When they came back together, they said they had. 6 months later, at the end of this program, one of the directors calls me and he says, we learned about 30 tools and all these concepts with you. And it was amazing, but we're not really sure how to use all of it. And he had 8 managers that were in this. And he said, we're still kind of at each other and we don't know how to really get along. What if you came out for a week and worked with us on applying some of this? And I said, well, I'm going to be calling your chief financial officer today. I'll ask if there's a budget for this. And when I called her, she goes, oh, he really needs it. He was saying terrible things about me at his managers meeting. And 2 of the managers got so upset that they came and told me all the terrible things he was saying. And this is where it got kind of humorous. I said, oh, did you ask them whether they stopped him? Because don't they have a mind trust with you? And she goes, oh, I totally forgot about that. And I go, well, then I guess you didn't ask them if they went to him because they didn't like him doing that. She said, no. And I said, and I guess you didn't go to him yourself when you thought of the bad things he was saying about you because of your mind trust with him. And she goes, no, in fact, I went and tattled on him to his VP, found out his VP was also at the meeting and didn't stop him. And then she goes, Judy, what is wrong with all of us? And I said, really, there's nothing. The thing that was wrong was the implementation wasn't done properly. Because when like if I give you a tennis racket, it doesn't make you a tennis player. It only makes you have a tennis racket. So if you don't learn muscle memory and all the nuances and get coaching and get out there and practice, it's not going to mean anything to you. And so that's kind of my long answer to the challenge is getting people to buy into an immersive process that really works.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. Okay, Megan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Carol. Judy, thank you so much for sharing that. That was really interesting. And I actually thought that Melissa might pounce on this one, and I was expecting and hoping to get in before Jackie gets in, because as I mentioned earlier, I operate in the youth space, and I've just started a youth academy. And part of my mission in this space, part of my vision is to create a skill set for our young people that will really carry them through their lives in a really engaged and well-equipped way. We want to create them so that they are holistically happy and inherently satisfied with what they're creating. And I would love to know if your program is only based in and around the area you are, if you actually work outside of your country, and what the possibilities of actually us getting together and having a chat about this, because I think this is really something brilliant to have more conversations about.
Well, first of all, youth are dear to my heart. We've worked in really big school reform projects in the United States, but right now we're talking to people in New Zealand, in the Montessori schools. We're talking to the UK, where there is a woman who wants to bring this model to all of the high schools in the UK. We had the European school group reach out to us recently. So we can scale anywhere geographically. I love the fact that we are preparing that future. And one of the tools that we teach that I think is particularly powerful for adults and children and youth is called appreciative inquiry. It's where you teach people to ask, if you don't know what that is, it's where you teach people to ask questions that are based on successes and strengths and what the highest vision would be. And one of our school reform projects, we wanted to help more kids stay in school and graduate, because in the inner city schools of St. Louis, they would drop out of high school. And so they invited 200 people in from the outside and practiced appreciative inquiry questions on them. The only thing the adults had to have done was graduate high school. And then the kids learned how to say things like, when did you want to give up on something and you didn't? And how did you stay the course?
Mm.
Who encouraged you? And what did you say to yourself and all of that? So yeah, we give them some really lifelong skills and they can start
Wow.
out.
Oh, I love that. And thank you so much for all you put into our youth space. But I will connect with you after the fact. And I do love the fact that you so firmly believe in practical implementation and application. I think that's absolutely the key. So well done to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank
Judy,
you, Megan.
Judy, I do believe your mind trust could literally eliminate school shootings.
I think so too. One thing that's a little tricky about it though, Carol, is that when you commit to somebody that you're going to go to them and work it out with them, if you have not been sufficiently encouraged to use your power and to use it to cause certain things and to have the tools to go to people and have the support to go to them, most people are too afraid to actually live into the mind trust fully. So that's why it's so important that it's kind of integrated. But I agree with you. I think all of these things, when these based on Adlerian psychology, were used in prisons, the recidivism rate, which is repeat reincarceration, is between 60 and 70% in most prisons. When this type of approach was used, those numbers went down to 4%.
Oh, yeah.
So if we can do that in prisons, then we can do that certainly around school, bullying,
Schools.
and all of
Oh,
that.
so
Beautiful.
exciting. So exciting. Yeah, just thank you so much for sharing that with us and sharing how you've experienced people using your tools that you're, oh my goodness, so amazing.
Thank you.
You. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have, oh, come on, Jackie. I know you probably have something. Come on, let's hear it.
Well, I'm continuously is probably the best way amazed because every time Judy and I speak, there's a new realm that she brings out that I had no clue of. So,
Oh my goodness.
I thank you, and probably the best part of this entire hour or whatever, how long is the reach, because when Megan decides to somehow incorporate that into her teachings, that's just South Africa. When Carol
YEA,
incorporates that
youth
into
empowerment.
YEA,
That's right.
because about 80 to 90% of those students are involved in schools, and to be able to start with that, the miracles will just explode by doing that if there's any way to interface. And women empowered groups that we're going to do starting soon will be a perfect place for that. She could do a part-time in that, Carol. And that will work as well. My question for you is the obvious that you all know I'm going to say. What do you need?
You know, we just need like-minded, like-hearted thought leaders and change agents that want this kind of change. Really, we're sitting on a very well-defined system, but it's not been easy to get it out there.
Wow.
And so that's the thing that we want the most, is to partner that want this. And we also need oversight consultants that can help companies and organizations adopt the system we've built, because it's all built on a digital platform.
Collaboration. So, Judy, I just spoke in front of 31 African teachers. I want to put you together with them.
Yeah.
You guys are so fun.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I mean, really and truly, the tools that you just opened us up to, every school needs to have them. Every school needs to have them. Every adult that has a child needs to have them.
I know we needed to have them.
Really and truly, everybody needs to have these so that we could actually, it could be a movement.
Where everybody loves their life, right?
Yes,
really
and thrives in life.
Yes.
Yes. And hold on, and loves one another.
Yes. Well, we do love one another when we love ourselves and we love our lives. We have all this generosity to give. And that's what drives me, is I see so much unnecessary suffering.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for being an amazing guest. Any more questions? Because we have just a few more minutes. Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you again for another amazing episode. Please put your information in the chat. Everybody put your information in the chat so we can reach out to one another. Judy, you have a home with us. We will be championing and sharing with as many people as possible this episode. Okay.
Thank you so much. I just enjoyed your energy. Everybody smiles, their little hearts going up, your gestures. It just so fills me. So thank you so much.
So great. So you have people behind you believing in what you're doing, and we will be sharing it with so many people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, if you love these episodes, please subscribe to our channel. Please comment, make comments, and please share it with everyone you can share it with so that it gets out to many more people, that we can inspire women and everybody on the planet around something like this. We want to get this out to everyone. So please join us again in another episode. We have them on Mondays and on Fridays. And if you want to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out to any one of us on LinkedIn. We're everywhere on LinkedIn. Please reach out to us and let us know you'd love to be a guest and share your story and inspire many people. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.
Let's thrive together. Bye, everyone.